I regretted coming forward because of everything that came after the fact. It ain't no need to cry about it now. If you saw the video that I posted, if you did not understand that to be a plea for help, I don't know what to tell you, because that's exactly what it was. I've tried to share as much as I can of this story. Of course, legally, I can't mention names. I can't mention things that have unraveled. I can't mention certain specifics about my command. And within the scope that I'm able to, but I've been trying to tell the story of what happened and what didn't happen. Where it was flawed, I tried to explain it in the best way I possibly could. This started off as a plea for help, and it's become insight to how difficult the process of coming forward and reporting. And what I've realized is that going through this now myself, it's almost as if the programs that we have exist, but not for the intent to assist. And I have experienced that now firsthand, and I have a problem with it. Why are you posting this video? Why are you telling the world this? More concerned about why I was doing it than why did I feel the need to? And that was the problem. There are people that will never understand why I felt the need to come forward and to speak about this. And it's fine, because it's not for you to understand. This was for me. This was for me. I needed to say it out loud so that I could accept it. When I decided to come forward and to speak up and to share my story about domestic violence, I received some hate. I definitely received some hate from my peers, people that have been in the military, people that are currently in the military, various different opinions on the method that I took. The shared comment that I received was, why are you exposing this? But who is that easy for? Because it's not easy for me. It's not easy for the victim. It's not. To have all of this kept within yourself is really hard to process that. I was taught to keep quiet, to keep the peace. But then I realized, whose peace was it keeping? I would be the first to admit that I never understood what it was like to be a victim of anything. Sexual assault, sexual harassment, any of those. I knew that it was horrible, and I had empathy for those. I had empathy for victims, but I couldn't relate. I couldn't understand. I was so far removed from it because, although I thought I was so far removed from it because I never experienced anything like that. And now, having gone through this entire process, I have realized so many things, and I feel that it has shaped me in a way that I wouldn't have had in any other life. In any other instance, I would have never even thought. I've had soldiers that have come up to me and have expressed to me how inspiring my story has been. And sometimes I can't wrap my head around that. I needed to share my story as a leader. If I'm being completely honest, when this first happened, I felt alone. I felt like I was the only person. I could not, what is going on here? Because I could not wrap my head around the fact that this was playing out in this way. Here I am, someone who is coming forward, which was hard in itself, coming forward, and I'm reporting it, and this is what is now the result of. But then I came across this, and just like having conversation with soldiers and various different people, as I have opened up and have been very transparent about what is going on with me, I realized I'm not a victim for sharing my story. I am a survivor. There's been some updates of what's going on in my career and my life, this whole process, and I have been retained. I put it on my social media accounts, but I've been late with YouTube. But if you're familiar with the process, it's still a very lengthy process. And when I first decided to share my experience on social media, it originally started off as a cry for help, but what it's become is a insight how difficult it is to come forward and report that you've been assaulted, that you've been a victim of domestic violence. It is very challenging. Where you would think that leading up to the report is already difficult, right? The courage to come forward is already a difficult process in itself, right? Where it's emotionally, physically challenging. And then you report it and it doesn't lessen the load. I would argue that it becomes even more difficult. It's almost as if reporting an assault, you're doomed if you do, and you're doomed if you don't. For the longest time, I regretted it. I regretted coming forward because of everything that came after the fact. Because the truth is, if I didn't report it, none of this would be happening. None of it. But I cannot help but think in the back of my mind, if I didn't report this, would I be here? I've already shared this in other videos. What will always stay really near and true to my heart is the fact that when I was dealing with my abuse, I had a friend who was going through the same thing, and neither one of us knew about it. And I'm here to speak about it, and she is not. If you ever wondered why I'm so passionate about this, that is why. That is why I will always be so passionate about this. At the same time, we were going through it at the same exact time. I want to talk about healing. I want to talk about, becoming a better version of yourself, overcoming this. I'm so much more than a victim. And I want what I'm doing to show that. To show that, yes, I went through something really challenging, very taxing, like one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. I was able to overcome it, heal from this, and I'm gonna be a better version of myself. That is what I wanna do. That's what I need to do. It just happens to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I think it's very appropriate for me to speak on why soldiers, why military personnel, why they do not come forward, why they do not. Where's the hesitation? Because you would think that during something so difficult and so hard, that coming forward would lessen the load. I want to share why I feel that it's so challenging, why people are less likely to report domestic violence. Fear of retaliation. I know that firsthand. I thought I was prepared, and I was given a FAP counselor, and the FAP counselor actually, that was the first thing he said to me. He said, I just want to prepare you because you would most likely he's going to retaliate. Most abusers do. I wasn't prepared for this whole dragged out process. It's concerns about retribution, either from your abuser or even within the chain of command. And that can be so discouraging. There's a stigma when it comes to reporting an assault. If you're following my story, you know that I wasn't assaulted once, I was assaulted twice. And the stigma that I will say that I had was that I would be viewed as weak. That if you know me personally, I'm a very prideful person, very prideful. And one thing I never want to be viewed as is a weak person. And that was a challenge within myself that I had to put aside, because I knew that I had to put my pride aside in order to potentially save my life. Feeling of shame and embarrassment, I've never felt it to this level before. You're stupid, that's how you didn't see this coming. What did you do? Oh my God, what did you do? How did you make him angry? There's more to the story. There's no way that this just happens. The stigma, I've heard it all. Some of it actually came from me. I actually said it to myself. I've had that conversation with myself. Why did you stay with them? Do you not love yourself? What's really difficult to overcome is how you think about yourself. Career concerns. And I had this one conversation with this senior officer, and she told me a story. This is before I posted the video, and I told her, I said, ma'am, I don't understand this. I don't understand how this is happening this way. And she told me a story of when she was a captain. She was married to another captain, and when he would get drunk, similar situation, he would get drunk and he would beat her and throw her around, and she's like a really small, petite woman. and he would just throw her around. And she said that it stopped when she got pregnant, when she was pregnant with her children. But every time, like, he would just get upset, and when he would get upset, he would take out his frustration and everything on her. She went to her commander and she said, Bria, I went to him because I trusted him. He was my senior rater. We had a great work relationship. But once I came forward and I started talking to him about this, that's when everything changed. With our conversation, his entire demeanor changed. And he said to me, do you really want to go down that rabbit hole? She said, Britt, at that time I realized that it's almost as if I had to pick my career, everything that I've worked hard for, the positions that I've worked hard for, how I provided for myself, everything that I've worked hard for my life. And I chose my career. And I couldn't believe that is thought, that is a discussion that you have to have internally, is my career, my life. The thing about it is, I knew coming forward that this was going to change my reputation, putting myself out there. I knew it. I am aware of the damage that it can do. I'm aware of that, me saying, hey, this happened to me, help me. But for me, my life is priceless. And if it ever becomes a choice of whether or not my career or my life, rest assured, I would choose my life 10 times over. Lack of trust. This created a lack of trust when it came to my chain of command. I don't trust them to support me, their credibility. I don't trust their decision making. Now, knowing all the information that I'm now exposed to, I do not trust. There's so many reasons why victims do not come forward. What I would always encourage, I know how hard it is, but despite how difficult it is, your life is worth every effort. And don't you ever regret choosing yourself, no matter what.